Hey everyone, and welcome to your culinary training arc. Look, if you've ever felt totally intimidated by the kitchen, or maybe you find yourself relying just a little too heavily on takeout because you swear you can't cook, well, you are absolutely in the right place. In this explainer, we're diving into the absolute basics of cooking that everyone should know. We're going to uncover the real insights from top chefs that prove, honestly, anyone can master the kitchen. So, let's get into it.
Okay, here is our syllabus for today. 1. Tools of the trade. 2. Mastering the blade. 3. The elements of heat. 4. Building and balancing flavor. And finally, 5. Patience and practice. Let's jump right in. Section 1. Tools of the trade. Equipping your kitchen dojo.
So, before we even think about turning on the stove, we really need to look at this foundational secret technique. It's called mise en place. Basically, it means you need to identify, pre-measure, and physically organize all your ingredients before you start. Put them in little containers, have them totally ready to go. Now, does it add a few extra dishes to wash? Yeah, sure. But it substantially increases your chances of actually pulling off the recipe. Why? Because you aren't frantically chopping an onion while your garlic literally burns to a crisp in the pan.
And what's really amazing here is that you do not need one of those massive, super expensive knife blocks taking up half your counter space. No way. Just these few high-quality essentials will seriously serve you for a lifetime. An 8 to 10-inch chef's knife, that's going to be your workhorse. Pair that with a heavy wood cutting board, which, by the way, protects your blade and gives you a really stable surface, and a good stainless steel pan for heat retention, and honestly, you are ready for almost any recipe out there.
All right, Section 2. Mastering the blade. Physical techniques for precision.
They always say a sharp knife is a safe knife. And I know that's a reality that surprises a lot of beginners. It sounds completely backward, right? But here's the thing. When a blade is blunt, you end up having to apply these dangerous amounts of force just to chop through something basic, like an onion or a potato. But a sharp knife, it does the work for you. It glides right through, which means it is way less likely to slip off the food and catch your finger.
Now, look at how these specific hand poses function. They are almost like martial arts stances. They give you total control while completely protecting your fingers. So, for the pinch grip, you put your thumb and your index finger right on the base of the blade itself. Then your other hand forms the claw, holding the food with your fingers tucked safely away, letting your middle knuckle act as a guide for the side of the blade. And then, instead of violently chopping up and down, you just use this smooth rocking motion, literally rolling the knife forward. By mastering this basic cheat sheet of cuts, you are going to be able to tackle almost any general recipe out there with incredible speed and, crucially, uniformity. So why does uniformity matter so much? Well, if your potato cubes are all different sizes, the tiny ones are going to turn to total mush, while the big ones are still raw and crunchy inside. It's a disaster. So from a rough chop for those rustic soups, all the way down to a delicate chiffonade, which is where you roll up leafy herbs like a cigar and slice them into these beautiful thin threads. These cuts are literally the building blocks of cooking.
Moving on to Section 3. The elements of heat. Harnessing the flame. Okay, when it comes to cooking proteins, you generally have two main paths. Understanding these two contrasting methodologies is going to totally dictate whether your meat turns out perfectly crispy or beautifully fall apart tender. So hot and fast, that gives you that incredible flavor-packed crust on the outside while keeping the inside perfectly cooked. Think of a classic steak. On the flip side, low and slow is absolute magic for tough cuts of meat. It gently melts down all that tough gelatin and intramuscular fiber over a few hours until you can literally just shred it with a fork. These right here are the essential baseline techniques that separate, well, bad cooking from truly excellent cooking. You really don't need to memorize a million recipes if you just understand these core methods. For instance, blanching. It isn't just boiling. It's dropping green veggies into boiling water and then immediately plunging them into an ice bath to shock them. That locks in that vibrant, bright green color and crisp crunch. Or take braising. It actually combines dry and wet heat. You brown the meat first to get that crust, and then you slowly simmer it in a flavorful liquid.
And when you are aiming for that perfect crust on a protein or even just a simple potato, here is the golden formula. First, get the oil shimmering hot in the pan. Next, lay the food down, but always lay it away from you so the hot oil doesn't splatter back and burn you. And then, and this is key, press it down to ensure it has full contact with the pan. After that, walk away. Seriously, let the pan do the work. It takes real patience to achieve that beautiful golden brown crust, which, by the way, is known as the Maillard reaction.
All right, Section 4. Building and balancing flavor, the alchemy of seasoning.
Okay, when you are adding salt, which is undeniably the single most influential ingredient in your entire kitchen, you absolutely must continuously taste your food and ask yourself this one simple question: does it taste better? If you add a pinch of salt and it tastes better, ask yourself again, can I add just a little more? You want to keep inching up to that threshold where the flavor is completely maximized, but stop right before it actually tastes salty. Believe it or not, under-seasoning is the #1 mistake home cooks make.
Now, this is where true culinary magic actually happens. It's when you tweak and combine these 5 basic tastes to achieve perfect harmony in a single dish. Think of a really good classic Thai soup, right? You add lime juice for that bright sourness, but if it gets just a bit too tart, you balance it right back out with a touch of sugar for sweetness. Then you drop in some fish sauce for that salty umami kick. Cooking is just this constant act of tasting and adjusting these different levers until the dish absolutely sings. A really great way to deliver those balanced flavors is through sauces. Learning these classic French mother sauces teaches you the absolute foundational principles of cooking. They teach you how to build deep flavor and, critically, how to control viscosity. Usually you do that by making a roux of butter and flour, or by creating a smooth emulsion. Because a good sauce shouldn't just run off your food like water, right? It needs to beautifully cling to it, coating your palate with absolutely every bite.
Finally, Section 5. Patience and practice, navigating the realities of the kitchen. Look, as you watch others cook and you begin to experiment yourself, you're going to learn what is actually acceptable in the kitchen. Sometimes, a slight mistake is honestly just a matter of branding. Seriously, a little dark edge on your roasted vegetables, that isn't ruined. No, it's a rustic char that adds this really pleasant bitter note to balance out the sweetness. So don't be too hard on yourself.
And I want to leave you with a vital piece of advice for your culinary longevity. On the days you just do not have the energy to do a full mise en place, or execute perfect knife cuts, or build some complex French mother sauce, conserve your energy. A bowl of cereal for dinner is perfectly fine. It really is. Cooking should be an enjoyable skill that enriches your life. It shouldn't be a grueling daily chore that just burns you out.
Cooking isn't something you're going to master overnight. It is a lifelong journey of delicious experimentation. But you now have the foundational secrets, the absolute basics of cooking that everyone should know. So the question isn't whether you have the raw talent to cook. The real question is, now that you know the rules, which ones are you going to break first?